The studio buzzed with anticipation. It was a typical Wednesday evening, but tonight's guest was anything but typical. Melania Trump, one of the most enigmatic first ladies in modern American history, was scheduled to sit down for an interview on the wildly popular talk show hosted by Samantha Brooks, a veteran in the world of live television and no stranger to controversy. From the moment the announcement was made, social media was ablaze. Versus Melania trended for days leading up to the event, with pundits and fans speculating about what would happen. Would Samantha Brooks push Melania to address the criticism she had faced during her tenure in the White House? Would Melania maintain her characteristic composure or surprise everyone with a fiery retort? The questions loomed large, and the world was watching. As the audience filed into the studio, the energy in the room was electric. Samantha Brooks's reputation preceded her. Known for her sharp wit and incisive questioning, she had built her career by making even the most seasoned politicians squirm. Her fans loved her for it, but her critics accused her of crossing the line, especially with guests who were less combative by nature. Melania, on the other hand, was a wild card. Throughout her time in the public eye, she had been criticized for being too private, too reserved, and too unwilling to engage with the media. But those who knew her well understood that behind her composed exterior was a woman of quiet strength and steely resolve. The lights dimmed, and the familiar theme music of the show played. Samantha Brooks strode onto the stage, her signature tailored blazer and commanding presence eliciting a round of applause. She smiled, waved to the audience, and took her seat in the center of the stage. "Good evening, everyone," Samantha began, her voice warm but tinged with anticipation. "Tonight, we have a very special guest. She's been called many things over the years: elegant, enigmatic, controversial, and even misunderstood. But tonight, we get to hear directly from her. Please welcome the former First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump." The applause was polite, but mixed with murmurs. As Melania stepped onto the stage, the contrast between her and Samantha was striking. Dressed in an impeccably tailored white pantsuit, Melania exuded calm and sophistication. Her expression was serene, almost unreadable, as she approached Samantha and extended a hand. "Mrs. Trump, welcome," Samantha said, shaking her hand and gesturing toward the chair opposite hers. "Thank you for joining us tonight." "Thank you for having me," Melania replied, her Slovenian accent soft yet deliberate. She took her seat, crossing her legs gracefully as she faced the host. Samantha wasted no time. The pleasantries were brief, and within moments, she launched into her first question. "You've often been criticized for your silence on certain issues during your time as First Lady," Samantha began. "There were moments when people expected you to speak out, to take a stand, and yet you chose not to. Do you feel that your silence was complicit?" The question hung in the air. The audience leaned forward, waiting to see how Melania would respond. But if the question rattled her, she didn't show it. Melania tilted her head slightly, her expression thoughtful. "It is interesting," she said, her voice calm, "that when a woman chooses to focus on her work and her family, she is labeled as silent or complicit. But when she speaks her mind, she is criticized for saying too much. Tell me, Samantha, what would make you happy?" The audience chuckled, a ripple of admiration for the subtle jab. Samantha, momentarily caught off guard, recovered quickly. "It's not about what would make me happy, Mrs. Trump," Samantha said, her tone sharpening. "It's about accountability. Do you feel you were accountable to the American people?" Melania's eyes met Samantha's, unflinching. "As First Lady, I focused on the issues that mattered to me: cyberbullying, children's health, education. I understand that maybe this is not as exciting for some people as political drama, but I believe making a difference does not always require a microphone. Sometimes it requires action." The audience applauded, some even standing for a moment. Samantha's lips tightened, but she pressed on. "Let's talk about your initiatives," Samantha said. "Your Be Best campaign was criticized for being vague and, frankly, ineffective. Do you think it made a real impact?" Melania's expression didn't waver. "When I visited schools, hospitals, and communities, I saw the impact. I spoke to children, parents, and teachers who appreciated the focus on issues like kindness and safety online. It is easy to criticize from a distance, but real change happens one person at a time." Samantha's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing that her usual tactics weren't working. She decided to switch gears. "Let's talk about your husband," Samantha said, her tone turning pointed. "Donald Trump's presidency was one of the most polarizing in history. Do you ever feel guilty about standing by some of the more controversial decisions he made?" Melania's response was immediate. "Do you feel guilty?" she asked, her voice steady, "for standing by the people you have supported, even when they make mistakes? Or is guilt only for those you disagree with?" The audience gasped. Samantha's face betrayed a flicker of shock before she quickly composed herself. The room buzzed with tension as Melania leaned back slightly in her chair, her expression serene. "I believe in standing by the people you love," Melania continued. "Not because they are perfect, but because loyalty and understanding are what build strong relationships. Perhaps if more people practiced that, we would have less division." The audience erupted in applause, this time louder and more enthusiastic than before. Samantha shifted in her seat, clearly struggling to regain control of the interview. She glanced at her notes, searching for a new angle. "Some might say that your loyalty has come at a cost," Samantha said, her tone softer but still probing. "Do you ever feel that your own voice has been overshadowed?" Melania's smile was faint but unmistakable. "My voice is mine," she said. "I use it when I choose how I choose. Just because I do not shout does not mean I am silent." The audience's applause was deafening. Samantha opened her mouth to respond, but the clock on the studio wall signaled that the segment was coming to an end. She sighed, clearly realizing that she'd been outmaneuvered. "Well, Mrs. Trump, thank you for joining us tonight," Samantha said, forcing a smile. "It's been enlightening." Melania stood, shaking Samantha's hand with the same calm composure she'd maintained throughout the interview. "Thank you, Samantha," she said. "It was a pleasure." As Melania walked off the stage, the audience erupted once again, some cheering, others simply standing in stunned silence. Social media would explode with clips of the exchange, with hashtags like #MelaniaMicDrop and #Unflappable trending for days. For Samantha Brooks, it was a rare moment of being outshined on her own stage. And for Melania Trump, it was a reminder to the world that grace and quiet strength can sometimes be the most powerful tools of all.